Hi, this is Alexis from the Kiteboarder Magazine. I'm here with Gary Siskar, again, back at Sabo's backyard with a greenery. We actually have some wind, it's cooled off. It's a nice day.
It's an awesome day, Alexis. What are we talking about right now?
I don't know, is that a bar?
This is a bar. So we're going to walk through the Liquid Force Mission Control Bar System. So this bar, we actually introduced last season. It was a complete out-of-the-box new product for us. We just didn't redesign what we had. We actually talked to the market, talked to our team riders, and went for a whole new design and a new aesthetic and new functionality that we wanted to bring to our line in a control system. You know, a control system, if you think about it, that is one of two tactile things that you actually touch a lot when you're kiteboarding. You know, this is what you're holding on to. This is your connection with the kite. This is kind of the central nervous system of what's going on and your control with the kite. So it's a very important piece of equipment in your whole gear lineup, so to speak. The other thing is foot pads. We'll get into that a little bit later because you're standing on those foot pads. Important those are comfortable, but it's just as important that you're comfortable with your bar. So why don't we start at the top and we'll go over what is really great and unique about our bar and all the effort that we put in to bring this wonderful bar to market. So the first thing I want to talk about are the lines. So the lines that we use are German engineered Teufelberger FL14 flying lines and center lines. We balance out the two. It's extremely strong, durable line, specifically made for kiteboarding and so forth. So what is really unique about this line, pre-stretched at the factory level, pre-stretched at our factory level also. It does have a monofilament insert in the line that runs all the way through that reduces the amount of stretching that the line will have. We know there's a lot of force going on lines when you're kiteboarding. Lines do stretch. I will take this opportunity to say that part of kiteboarding is making sure that your kit is all tuned. I think a lot of people overlook the fact that your bar needs to be tuned also. So lines, no matter what brand you are, will have a tendency to stretch over time. So you want to make sure that every season, couple times a season, you make sure that your lines are tuned to what what the brand recommends. Most of them are equal length. Ours are equal length. And we have a great tutorial online at liquidforcekites.com that you can learn how to tune your bar. It'll work for any of the bars out there on the market, but we'll tell you how to do it comprehensively and in a short time so you can make sure that this is tuned. Look at it like skiing and snowboarding. I'm sure a lot of people out there are skiers and snowboarders. You keep your equipment tuned up that way. Obviously, look at your lines as the edges of your skis or your snowboard. You want to keep these things nice and in tune so you have the best experience on the water overall. So that's about the lines. Moving down to the central part of the bar, let's talk about our power depower system and how that's regulated. So we use a nice clean, simple cleating system that you just pull in to depower the kite. To power it up, you just pull down, decleat it, and let it out. Works very smoothly. We have also Velcro on our stainless cleat right here that you can attach. So if you do have it depowered quite a bit, you can get that nice and out of the way. So it's not flopping around and wrapping around your main line. Reach up, undo it, and you can let it out nice and easy. We have a pulley up here, which is a glass injected nylon pulley with a ball bearing system on the inside. Remains very debris free, remains functional when you have sand and so forth clogged in there. The other thing that's really nice is this is an ultralight piece overall. One thing when we were designing this bar is we wanted to make the lightest bar on the market. So this is one of the components that we looked at very deeply on how to make this as strong as possible, or what is needed for kiteboarding, but yet also reduce a lot of the weight. When you have something up here, especially if you're doing freestyle tricks, slacking the lines, if you're in surf and you're going down the line and you have slack, any stuff that you have up here will weight these center lines down. You don't want to have that. The lighter weight that you can have up here, the more tension, the better your kite's going to drift. All this affects how your kite is flying at the end of the day. Like I said, central nervous system right here.
Absolutely.
So nice lightweight piece. So moving on down, like I said, stainless steel cleat. This was a complete new thing for Liquid Force. This is the first time ever in the with the mission control system that we went to a PU coated main line. So this is a tube. Inside this tube, you have housed your main line and also your safety line. This does a couple things for you. One is, we all know that the other way that you can rig this is if you have two separate lines down here for your cleat system or your depower system. What would happen, we had the feedback on the separate lines, especially from the freestyle riders. Sometimes your fingers would go between the two lines. If you unhook, all of a sudden it pinches your hands. We wanted to get rid of that kind of byproduct of a two-line system away, so that's what this PU coated does. It also keeps the system very clean. You don't have any debris or such going into your main line that then rubs into your bushing. So it's durable overall, so it's not going to wear out as fast. This whole system, I would say, would almost last the lifetime of what's going on with this bar, with this PU coated. Extremely durable overall on this. Next thing, when we move on to the sides here, we have PU coated leader lines. That keeps it nice for grabbing when you need to relaunch the kite, if you have to take a nice bite of line up here. Also keeps it nice, and so when you're kite looping and so forth, not a lot of friction going on this side of things. We did in the past have our line adjustments, so when you're tuning your bar, we know that's very important. The line adjustments were up here. We moved those line adjustments to underneath the float now. It's very easy to pull the float up, and now you have your line adjustments for your steering lines underneath this float, nice and hidden away. So you don't have any of this dangling stuff now above the leader line that can get caught and so forth. So it's very clean, very simple system overall on that front. Another thing to talk about the floats, we went to a full detached float system. So back in the day, if you think, Liquid Force was probably one of the first brands to come out with a fully integrated EVA injected winder and float. And what we realized over the time, that actually had an impact on the way the kite flies and so forth. So this connection between your bar and your floats and up to your kite, you want this as loose as possible. This helps give you better input from the kite and also better response from you to the kite. So it's actually helping your kite steer faster. You don't have to look at your kite as much to know where it's going, because you're getting a better impulse, back from the kite. You can kind of feel through the bar where it's
Direct feel.
Exactly, very direct. So we just realized through a lot of testing that having this type of float system on there detached is what gives you the best feel and response from your kite overall. So that's very important to note on that front. Moving on down to the bar itself. So the bar, this is something that we're very proud of. We went to a one-piece glass nylon injected bar. So what's really important to note about this is, one, weight reduction was a big component of our design brief for this. We're proud to say that this is probably the lightest bar on the market, partially due to the componentry that we're using, and partially due that we're using a one-piece glass nylon bar. The other thing is, we found out that this bar is actually stronger than a lot of bars out there that are built in multiple pieces. So a lot of bars on the market, what they do is they use separate winder pieces that are then put into, say, a aluminum shaft or a carbon shaft, and then a separate bushing that is put into that aluminum or carbon shaft. So now you have all these components that create parts of the bar that are subject to breaking or failing. With this, it's one complete piece. We don't have any excess epoxy in there. And the pull tests of this thing are exceeding 490, 500 plus kgs, so it's before it even deforms. So we're at a very, very strong bar overall. The next thing I want to point out about the bar is we have a nice wide bushing hole in the middle, so that allows this PU tube to flow freely through the bar without a lot of friction. A lot of people overlook this or don't think about this a lot, but if you're in waves and you're down looping or you're setting up for a bottom turn, you're constantly sheeting in, sheeting out while trying to steer your kite, you want a nice bushing hole inside here that interacts with this main tube very freely, so you don't have any binding when you're sheeting in, sheeting out, and you're trying to turn the kite at the same time. It flows very, very freely overall. The next really cool thing that we're proud of on our bar that you'll notice is the ultra clean design in terms of the grip itself. Now, a lot of people, we wanted that nice aesthetic because it's very, we didn't want to put anything in terms of doodads or anything on the bar that wasn't there, that was there that didn't equate to any functionality. And what we realized in EVA, and you look at this when it comes to surfboards and EVA traction on SUPs and surfboards now, is like a lot of that skiving or a lot of those big bumps are going away. The reason being is that stuff's not really producing a lot of traction. And actually, I'm sure a lot of suppers out there realize too that the more bumps you have on there, you get foot fatigue and so forth.
Absolutely.
Pressure points on your feet. We realize it translates straight to the bar also. When you start using embossing, debossing, a bunch of crazy lines that are molded in here and so forth, it does impact your hand overall.
You get hand wear.
You get hand wear, and the other thing is you get hand fatigue. So with this, we were able to make an extremely narrow diameter bar. So that's one thing, like a wider bar makes your hand fatigue faster. And we haven't sacrificed any grip whatsoever. So when you look out there, windsurf, booms, and so forth are done with a nice clean EVA. A lot of in the sailing industry, like rudder handles and rudder grips, grips around like the helm wheel and all that. It doesn't have a bunch of bumps and weird things on it. It's nice and smooth and grippy. So that's what we did here, and they have a nice clean look. Obviously brighter side on your left hand, so it's visually when you're getting tumbled around, you know, whoop, all right, I can get right onto my left side, grab your bar the proper way, and the darker on the right. Next thing we do have adjustable bar ends. Very easy to do when you're on the beach. If you all of a sudden are flying a smaller kite, or you want to take a little bit of the turning response out of your kite because you're a wake style person or a freestyle rider, and you want to make it smaller, it's easy. You just pull the float up a bit, pull the cartridge out, you can flip it on over, you get an extra 6 cm, or sorry, you decrease the bar by about 6 cm overall, so you get a narrower bar, less turning speed out of the kite when you want to do those freestyle tricks where you're passing the bar, or if you're just on a really small kite on a windy day and you want to take some of that whipping turningness around out of your kite. Personally, I always keep it on the bigger setting because I like a faster kite. So that is that. Moving out now down to the bottom part of the bar in our chicken loop system. So the first thing we want to point out is the swivel. So we do have a below the bar swivel. So as you're doing back rolls, kite loops, all that kind of fun stuff, it's easy just to untwist your front lines with a nice below the bar swivel overall. We have a nice spring washer in there that creates a nice consistent twisting motion, never gets really hard, and it's never really too loose. So the key thing about it not being too loose is for the people who unhook. If you have something that's really spinny, all of a sudden they unhook and then their chicken loop is like this. They always got to constantly reach back. So ours, it has a nice tuned stiffness in there, so to speak, that it's easy to turn for everyone, but yet when you unhook, it stays in place. So that's really nice. So when you unhook, it's always going to be waiting right there for you. Next thing we want to talk about is our release. We're very proud of our release. We have a nice bright orange push away release. When you push this away, one of two things will happen. One is it releases. Let's say three things. So you'll release. Very reliable release system. The next thing that will happen is we have an automatic locking mechanism on the hood that keeps the hood up. 90% of the time, when you do release, when you're in the upward position and you fall, your hood's going to stay up. To re-engage this hood is extremely simple. You just grab up onto the rotor head. You're going to put the loop back into the cavity, and you're just going to gently push up, and it'll click back into place. So really simple, nice and automatic. This is great if you do trade kites with buddies on the beach and they're using a rope or something like that. It's easy to do, and so forth. Lesson centers, it's really easy to re-engage when you're teaching releases and so forth, or just overall, it's a nice, safe, quick, easy system to re-engage. The other thing that could happen too is the hood will sometimes, if you're pointed downward, it's going to click all the way back down. You can re-engage the hood exactly how you do any normal system. Just pull the hood up, click back in, and you're all set to go. So again, if that hood stays down, you're just going to put the ring back in there, the chicken loop back in there, pull up, and it clicks in nice and easy. So nice TPU molded chicken loop. One thing we did too, we made the chicken loop a lot smaller. So we realized, talking to people, that having the bar nice and close, having all the range of throw, a lot of that gets lost if you have this big old chicken loop. We do offer a large chicken loop for the freestylers because the freestyle people like a really big, large chicken loop. But I'll tell you what, the majority of the people out there, what they want is the ability to have all the D power in the throw of the bar. So especially if you're in the surf, if you're out there just throwing hooked in freestyle tricks, it's great to just have this thing nice and tight to your body. So we went with a nice compact loop.
Now, is this interchangeable, or is it a different bar with a different
Nope,
size?
it's totally interchangeable. So all you have to do is purchase a nice big freestyle loop, and it plugs right in. Easy to change this out. It's one simple pin that you knock out. Bloop, put the new freestyle loop in there. It's all good to go. It takes you all of about 5 minutes to change that whole thing out.
Okay, and you got a movable donkey dick?
We do. So we do have a removable safety pin, or donkey dick, which the industry likes to call it too. You can move it out of the way. You can actually take the donkey dick completely off if you are a freestyler and you don't want that thing in the way at all, or if you ride with a rope in the surf and you just don't want this there at all because you're always with a rope. Obviously, if you need it riding with a rope, you don't need this. So you can remove that piece. We do have two ways to work our safety system. So we have a 100% flag line. So if you just hook your safety system up to the ring as is, and all of a sudden you come into a situation where you need to release the kite, you're going to go 100% out. It's going to flag the kite out. If you're riding freestyle and you want to hook what we call suicide in the industry, you can put the ring over that, and then you can hook onto here. So now if you unhook and you let go of the bar, obviously you're going to depower for the whole depower throw, but it's not going to flag the kite out. And then your secondary release when you're here is going to be your leash. If you're in a, if you're in a situation that you need to get rid of everything, you'll get rid of your leash. So that's that. Speaking about the leash, our system comes complete with what we call the short Nano Leash. This is kind of nice. You basically hitch this onto your harness right on the front, connect this to your leash ring, and everything is right in front of you now. It's not around the back, so if you come into a situation, you're not having to search around the back here. It's always going to be right in the front, easy to pull away and release your kite if you have a situation that you need to do that and so forth. So
do you also carry the longer length also for the freestyle?
Yep. So for the freestyles, we have 2 lengths of leashes for that also. So we have a 180 centimeter leash overall, and we have a 60 centimeter leash. So that's what's going on there. So we got the super hangers for the guys who are
the snake
double swapping. And then we just have a nice longer freestyle leash for people who are just unhooking, hitting sliders and stuff like that. So that is that bar. So this is the Mission Control bar. Again, we're extremely proud of this. Very simple design, clean aesthetic overall, no accoutrements, bells and whistles that you don't need on this thing. This we feel is the best connection for a kiteboarder to their kites overall, for the best bar response, the best kite feel, and the best control of your kite.
Now I know we didn't go over all the technical. You covered pretty much most of it, all of it, pretty much. But there's always those techie guys that want to know the lines, the strength, and all the crazy stuff. How much does the bar weigh and all that good stuff? Where can they find that info?
LiquidForceKites.com is where you can learn everything about this. Watch a few more videos if you want to back up this video. Take a look at all the tech spec and all that kind of fun stuff. LiquidForceKites.com. There's one more thing I do want to show.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, here he's got the bag.
Your kite comes in this wonderful little bag when you purchase it. You know?
The bar, not the kite.
I'm sorry, the bar. Our kites come in a bag.
I was about to say the bar. You bag everything.
The bar comes in this nice little bag. So everyone's like, oh yeah, bag. I'm just gonna throw this thing aside because I don't need a bag. So what we did is, instead of putting any mesh or weirdness on in this bag, we made it nice and solid. You know what it doubles as?
I don't know.
A nice sand bag. Fill this thing with sand. When you're on the beach, everyone wants to, you have to sand your kite down when it's windy and so forth. So basically you can shove a bunch of sand in here, then you're not putting all this dirty, wet, yucky sand on the canopy of your kite. You can just put a nice bag, boom, on your kite, and it's being held down.
Wow, I never thought about it as a sandbag. I always thought it as a beer cooler.
Hey, it could do that too.
Okay, folks, for more info, go to Liquid Force. Thank you, Gary.